Aloha, friends. Just want to add a little bit more to yesterday's video. Isn't quite done. I think we need to speak just a little bit about aliens and UFOs in this one. Let's get into it. Questioner. The forgetting process was puzzling me because you said that the fourth density activated people who were here, who had been harvested, did not have the same forgetting problem. Could you tell me why the wanderer loses his memory? The new fourth density entities which are becoming able to demonstrate various newer abilities are doing so as a result of the present experience, not as a result of memory. There are always a few exceptions, and we ask your forgiveness for constant barrages of overgeneralization. Questioner. I don't know if this question is related to what I am trying to get at or not. I'll ask it and see what results. You mentioned in speaking of the pyramids, the resonating chamber was used so that the adept could meet the self. Would you explain what you meant by that? I am Ra. One meets the self and the center or depths of the being. The so-called resonating chamber may be likened unto the symbology of the burial and resurrection of the body, wherein the entity dies to self, and through this confrontation of apparent loss and realization of essential gain, is transmuted into a new and risen being. Questioner. Could I make the analogy of, in this apparent death, of losing the desires that are the illusory common desires of third density and gaining desires of total service to others? I am Ra. You are perceptive. This was the purpose and intent of this chamber, as well as forming the necessary portion of the king's chamber position's effectiveness. Questioner. Can you tell me what this chamber did to the entity to create this awareness in him? I am Ra. This chamber worked upon the mind and the body. The mind was affected by sensory deprivation and the archetypical reactions to being buried alive with no possibility of extricating the self. The body was affected both by the mind configuration and by the electrical and piezoelectrical properties of the materials which were used in the construction of the resonating chamber. May we ask if there be any brief queries at this time? And that ends this session, which was done in the 80s. August 8th, 1981 on my birthday. Holy shit, that tripped me out. I didn't expect that. The Law of One. Don Elkins. This book is an exact transcript from tape recordings of 26 sessions of an experiment designed to communicate with an extraterrestrial being. We started the experiment in 1962 and refined the process for 19 years. In 1981, the experimental results of our efforts changed profoundly in quality and precision. This book is simply a report of the beginning of this latter phase of our work. Since our experimental work began, and even before we officially formed a research group, there was considerable confusion about the nature of our research. I would like to state that I consider my point of view to be purely scientific. Many readers of this material have used as a basis for its evaluation a previously assumed philosophical bias which has ranged from what I would call objectively scientific to subjectively theological. It is not the purpose of our research group to attempt to do anything other than make experimental data available. Each reader will undoubtedly reach his own unique conclusions about the meaning of this body of data. In recent years, there has been much controversy about phenomena that were apparently incompatible with accepted methods of scientific research. This included such things as UFOs, metal bending, psychic surgery, and many other seemingly miraculous happenings. To prove or disprove any of these alleged phenomena is certainly not properly the task of the casual observer. However, most of the public opinion that has been generated with respect to these events seems to be the product of quick and superficial investigation. After almost 30 years of research and experimentation in the area of so-called paranormal phenomena, I must recommend extreme caution in reaching a conclusion. If it is possible to make money, gain notoriety, or have fun from perpetrating a hoax, then someone usually does. Consequently, paranormal or psychic areas are prime targets for the trickster, and the careful researcher usually has to observe copious amounts of garbage data in order to find a possible embedded gem of truth. This is especially true of Philippine psychic surgery and the large area of spirit communication in general. It seems to me that the presently accepted scientific paradigm is less than adequate. It is my opinion that our present neutral philosophy is a very special case of a much more general case yet to be unveiled. It is my hope that our research is in the direction of this discovery. After assimilating several million words of alleged extraterrestrial communication, it is also my opinion that this book and the subsequent volumes of the raw material contain the most useful information that I have discovered as a result of all this delving into the rather confusing subjects of ufology and parapsychology. I, of course, have formed my current opinion of how things really are. This opinion may change at any time as I become aware of future information. This book is not intended to be a treatise of my opinion, so I will not attempt to defend its validity. The following is the best guess I can make about what we think we are doing. Only time will tell as to the accuracy of this guess. Our research group uses what I prefer to call tuned trance telepathy to communicate with an extraterrestrial race called Ra. We use the English language because it is known by Ra. In fact, Ra knows more of it than I do. Ra landed on Earth about 11,000 years ago as a sort of extraterrestrial missionary with the objective of helping Earthman with his mental evolution. Alright, so here's your violation of free will, but it was done with good intent. Was it successful? You be the judge. Back to the book. Failing in this attempt, Ra retreated from the Earth's surface but continued to monitor activities closely on this planet. For this reason, Ra is highly informed about our history, languages, etc. Probably the most difficult thing to understand about Ra is its nature. Ra is a sixth density social memory complex. Since Earth is near the end of the third density cycle of evolution, this means that Ra is 3 evolutionary cycles ahead of us. In other words, Ra's present state of evolution is millions of years in advance of Earthman's. It is not surprising that Ra had difficulty communicating with Earthman 11,000 years ago. The same problem still exists in our present enlightened time. At this writing, we have completed over 100 sessions of experimental communications with Ra. This approximate 300,000 words of information has suggested to me a possibly more adequate scientific paradigm. Only time and future experience will serve to validate and expand this paradigm. Ufology is a large subject. A reasonable amount of background material would swell this introduction to book length. Therefore, the remainder of this introduction does not attempt to cover every portion of this diverse and growing field of study, but is instead an accounting of some of the pertinent parts of our research from our beginnings to the present day and the Ra contact. I've asked my longtime research associate, Carla L. Ruckert, to tell our story. So that's all I'm going to read from the Ra material, The Law of One, Book 1. Well, the beginning part I read to you was out of Book 3, but this UFO thing, we got to think about this. Like I said in yesterday's video, you don't know what it is you're seeing when you're seeing what you think is a UFO. So you're making an assumption that, well, a lot of people do make the assumption that they're seeing something they can't explain, therefore it must be a UFO, and if it's a UFO, it must have aliens within it driving it or guiding it or whatever. Not necessarily so, because again, we don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. What if it's just some sort of a window in the dimension that's opening, like a portal or whatever? It would just be a window in that sense. So is there an alien inside the window? Well, if there was anything in the window, it would be alien to us. So see, in a sense, it's partly true and partly not true, and then it's got all kinds of our own bias mixed in with it to where we come to conclusions. But I would venture to say almost everybody's conclusions are not complete conclusions. They're complete to themselves within their own minds because they think they have the full conclusion. But if you've only got 30% of a 100% conclusion within yourself, but you think that 30% represents 100%, then you're not, then your beliefs are going to be off kilter. You're out of sync. And again, with this whole seeing it with your two eyes, you've already got the built-in bias from our culture and world that that's the only thing that's quote-unquote real. So if you're seeing it, that means that it's real, and if you're not seeing it, then it must not be real. But see, that's a completely whack thinking process because we've then forgotten that there's all these other dimensions and all these other beings and all these other happenings happening right here in this same space, in this same, like the onion. The outside layer is not directly seeing and experiencing some of the deeper internal layers, but that doesn't mean that they're not there. So in other words, if we could put the glasses on, the sunglasses that allows us to see all the things we're not seeing, like in They Live, then all of a sudden you wouldn't just be seeing subliminal messages and things like that were in the movie. Well, I guess he was seeing aliens too, so you would be seeing all the beings and entities just exactly like it that's in that movie. Only I think it would be copious amounts of it. Like everywhere you looked, there would be stuff that you weren't seeing regularly that you would now be seeing. And depending on how many, let us say, dimensions were tuned into by wearing the glasses, you could just fill your entire space with all kinds of stuff, happenings and doings and goings on. And if we took all of that out of a physical context and put it back into an energetic context, then we would realize we're looking at something similar to a plasma ball with all these fingers of electricity and energies and intersections and mixings and minglings and movements and passions and feelings and all of this happening. And we're tuned into a very small portion of it and lied to and told, hey, only believe what you can see with your two eyes. So in other words, they have us hyper-focused. And by hyper-focusing in the third dimension, in what is now 4 and 5D reality, you're missing almost everything that's going on by doing that. There's so much more to see, feel, experience, etc. So I'm not going to go long with this one. I used to make all my videos, between 30 minutes and an hour. So I've really reduced my time on videos in the past, let us say. Well, ever since I made this channel. My old channel, that's the way I had it on my old channel. But on my new channel, I've squeezed it and condensed it a little bit more, which I think, I don't know. I like long videos, personally. To me, I slowly get into the vibe of the speaker in a video, because I'm usually watching videos that are similar to mine. I'm just trying to get information and understanding and sort of gauge where the collective conscious is and just where other people are. And there's some very fascinating, interesting people out there, and I would much rather tune in with them and share with them than watch, some sitcom with a laugh track. I mean, hit me in the head with a hammer if I ever start thinking that that's something I need to be doing. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. Love and light. Thanks for being here. Wholeness. Until next time. And we got to go out true DJ style. So everybody up and into the rave. Let's do it.